Dharmabytes is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
What does Rajumpa do? He decides to go back to India. He's been there twice. He wants to go back to India to learn how to debate. He knows how difficult going to India is, so something very powerful is propelling him. It's going to take him years. He's going to take himself out of that sphere of his teacher's influence, of his brethren, the yogi disciples. And he's going to go off to India. India probably represents, for him, the centre of the 11th century spiritual universe, one would imagine. Nalanda at the time, it's the centre of learning as far back as the 5th century, had 10,000 students and 2,000 teachers. We're on the cusp of when the Muslims invaded, only 100 years later, and eradicated Buddhism from the Indian subcontinent. You know, I think we need to be very grateful for all those adventurous Tibetans that went into medieval India and brought back and preserved some of that tradition, because it was lost in India. Yeah. So people like Marpa, for all their quirky eccentricities, I mean, they were tough guys that went in there and did something for history, at least for Buddhist history as well, I imagine. So maybe Rajumpa thinks, well, that's where the real stuff is. That's where the real spiritual stuff is, in the East. We still do that, don't we? We go, oh yeah, it's okay, but Tibet, India, well, that's where the real stuff is, yeah? But, it's not in their backyards, obviously. But one does suspect, actually, that's exactly where it is, and that's exactly where you should be looking for the real spiritual treasure, in your backyard. Anyway, Rajumpa's determined to go off to India. Milarepa's clearly pointed out to him that he thinks it's wrong. He not only thinks it's wrong, he thinks it's worthless. He says that. Rajumpa's motivation, well, I don't know. Maybe he's a bit stuck in his practice. As I say, he's young, but he's a seasoned practitioner. This is not someone just starting out. Maybe he's hit a barrier in his spiritual life. Maybe he's having what we call a spiritual midlife crisis. I do hear it happens. People go off and do all sorts of extraordinary things. Interestingly, what advice does Milarepa give to a Rajumpa? Concentrate on your meditation, mate. Get on with your practice. But Rajumpa, he's got this wonderfully headstrong quality to him, yeah, and he insists. So Milarepa isn't going to stand in his way. He's made his own position clear. He's clean from his side of the equation. But he says to him, look, I'm not going to send you there to study logic and magic. Forget it. If you're going to go, at least get the teachings I couldn't get from Marpa, or Marpa couldn't get from India. There's a series called the Formless Dakini Dharma series. I think they've got 4 out of 9. I don't need them, but they may be useful for others. So Milarepa gives him the gold, the means to get to India, which I think is quite interesting. Yeah, because obviously Milarepa's disciples rely, to some extent, on Milarepa for their support. Milarepa's giving them the opportunity to go to India, even though Milarepa said, look, don't go. It's a very different style to Marpa, isn't it? Actually, Milarepa says to him, this unformed son of mine, loser of debate, is full of doubts and has stopped his meditation. He's about to wander far away to study. This is the very thing a yogi should avoid. Yeah? And of course, you get the impression in the text that Rajumpa isn't listening. He just hears what he wants to hear. The guru's given him his blessing. He's off to India, fantastic. He's obviously excited. He's a bit full of himself. He actually picks up a piece of gold. It's a bit cringeworthy. He picks up a piece of gold, Milarepa's own gold that he's given him, the best piece, and in the text says tosses it to his teacher as a sort of a farewell offering. The cheek of it. Yeah. When you read it, you get a little bit heated up. You think, dear, a little bit judgmental. And then he says to Milarepa, he sings him a song. He says, bless me, my teacher. Let me risk my life to fulfill the guru's will. Pray safeguard him wherever he goes in India, a land of danger and full of bandits. Pray lead him to the right teacher as he wanders alone in that foreign land. There's a certain irony there, isn't there? He's living with Milarepa.
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharmabite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.